The stars looked the same as they always did from the bridge of the New Horizon. Captain Jake Morrison stood near the large window, watching the endless black space filled with tiny points of light. He had been out here for 3 years now, exploring new star systems and looking for planets that humans could live on someday. Jake was 42 years old and had spent most of his life in space. His brown hair was getting gray at the sides, and his face showed the lines that came from years of making hard choices. He wore the blue uniform of Earth's Space Exploration Service. With captain's bars on his shoulders, the New Horizon was not a big ship compared to the military vessels back home. It was built for science, not fighting. 150 people lived and worked on the ship. Most of them were scientists, engineers, and support crew. They had some weapons, but nothing serious. Their job was to explore, not to fight wars. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez sat at the communications station on the bridge. She was 28 and had joined the crew 2 years ago. Amy was good with languages and had studied how to talk to alien life if they ever found any. So far, they had only found empty planets and space rocks. Captain Amy said, looking up from her station, "I'm getting something strange on the long-range sensors." Jake walked over to her station. "What kind of strange?" "It's a signal, sir, but it's not coming from Earth or any of our colonies. The pattern is completely different from anything we use." Jake felt his heart beat faster. For 50 years, humans had been looking for signs of alien life. They had found planets that could support life, but no actual aliens. Every signal they've picked up always turned out to be from human sources or just space noise. "Are you sure it's artificial?" Jake asked. Amy nodded. "Yes, sir. It's too organized to be natural. It's being broadcast on multiple frequencies at the same time. Someone is trying very hard to make sure this message gets heard." Dr. Lisa Parker, the ship's chief science officer, walked onto the bridge. She was a small woman with red hair and sharp green eyes. Lisa was 35 and had 3 degrees in different kinds of science. She was probably the smartest person Jake had ever met. "Amy told me about the signal," Lisa said. "I'd like to run it through our computers and see if we can understand what it says." "Do it," Jake said, "but be careful. We don't know who sent this or what they want." For the next 6 hours, Lisa and her team worked on the signal. They ran it through every translation program they had. They looked for patterns and tried to match it against mathematical concepts that any intelligent species should understand. Finally, Lisa came back to the bridge. She looked tired but excited. "We got it," she said. "It's a distress call." Jake felt a chill run down his back. "From who?" "They call themselves the Zenthari Collective. From what we can understand, they're an alliance of several different alien species, and they're in serious trouble." Lisa brought up the translated message on the main screen. The words appeared in English, but Jake could see some parts were marked as uncertain translations. "Help us," the message began. "We are the Zenthari Collective. Our worlds are under attack by the Vrak Empire. We have fought for 2 years, but we cannot win. Our defenses are failing. Our people are dying. We send this message to any spacefaring species within 100 light years. Please, if you can hear this, help us. We do not have long." The bridge went quiet. Jake stared at the message, reading it again and again. "How far away are they?" he asked. "About 3 weeks at maximum speed," Lisa said. "But Captain, we need to think about this carefully. We don't know anything about these aliens or their enemies. This could be dangerous." Commander Ryan Brooks, the ship's security chief, had been listening quietly. Ryan was a big man with black hair and serious dark eyes. He had served in Earth's military before joining the exploration service. "Captain," Ryan said, "Dr. Parker is right. We're not equipped for a war. We have 150 people and light weapons. If these Vrak are powerful enough to defeat an alliance of alien species, what can we do?" Jake understood their concerns. Right. The smart thing would be to send the message back to Earth and let the military handle it. But Earth was 6 months away, and the aliens said they didn't have long. "What if we're the only ones who receive their call?" Jake asked. "What if we're their only hope?" Amy looked up from her station. "Captain, I've been monitoring the signal. It's getting weaker. I think their transmitter is damaged or running out of power." Jake walked back to the window and looked. Out at the stars, somewhere out there, alien beings were fighting for their lives. They had reached out into the darkness, hoping someone would hear them and help. "Sir," Lisa said quietly, "this is the first contact with alien intelligence in human history. Even if we can't help them militarily, we should at least try to communicate with them. We could learn so much." Ryan shook his head. "Or we could get everyone killed. These Vrak might see us as enemies just for talking to the Zenthari." About the crew under his command, they had families back on Earth. They had signed up to explore new worlds, not to fight in alien wars. He had no right to put them in danger. But then he thought about the message. It's the desperate words from beings he had never met, asking for help from anyone who could hear them. "I want to talk to the senior staff," Jake said. "Get everyone to the conference room in 1 hour?" The meeting lasted for 3 hours. Jake explained the situation to his department heads. Some agreed with Ryan that they should stay away. Others thought they should at least try to help. A few suggested they could provide non-military assistance, like medical supplies or technical knowledge. Finally, Jake made a decision that surprised even himself. "I'm calling for a ship-wide vote," he said. "Everyone on this ship gets to decide. We either go help these aliens or we head back to Earth and report what we found." It took 2 days to organize the vote and make sure everyone understood the situation. Jake explained that they would probably face danger and they might not make it home. He also explained that they might be the only hope for an entire alien civilization. When the votes were counted, the result was clear. 137. People voted to help the Zenthari. Only 13 voted to return to Earth. Jake stood on the bridge as Amy prepared to send a response to the alien distress call. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human vessel New Horizon," the message began. "We have received your distress call. We are coming to help. Hold on." As the message went out into space, Jake felt the weight of what they were doing. They were a small ship with a small crew, heading into a war they didn't understand. They had no idea what they would find when they reached Zenthari space, but they were going anyway, because someone had asked for help, and no one else had answered. Jake gave the order to change course, and the New Horizon turned toward the Zenthari system. None of them knew that this decision would change not just their lives, but the entire galaxy. 3 weeks later, the New Horizon dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Zenthari system. What they saw made everyone on the bridge go silent. The space around the main planet was full of wreckage. Huge pieces of metal and debris floated everywhere, glinting in the light of the system's yellow star. Some pieces were so big they looked like broken space stations. Others were small enough to be parts of destroyed ships. "My God," Dr. Lisa Parker whispered, staring. At the main screen, Captain Jake Morrison gripped the back of his chair. In all his years in space, he had never seen destruction on this scale. The debris field stretched for thousands of kilometers around the planet. "Lieutenant." Amy Rodriguez worked quickly at her station. "Captain, I'm detecting multiple large ships near the planet. They don't match the Zenthari design from the technical data we received." "Those must be the Vrak," Commander Ryan Brooks said grimly. Jake could see the enemy ships on the screen now. They were dark and angular, like metal predators. Even from this distance, they looked dangerous. Bright flashes of light came from the ships as they fired weapons at targets on the planet's surface. "Captain," Amy said, "I'm getting a weak signal. From the planet, it's the Zenthari. They're trying to contact us." "Put it through," Jake ordered. The main screen flickered, and suddenly, they were looking at an alien face. Jake's first thought was how fragile the being looked. The Zenthari had pale, almost transparent skin and large eyes that seemed too big for its thin face. Its body was small and delicate, like it might break if touched too hard. The alien spoke in its own language, but the translation system they had developed began converting the words to English. There was a delay, making the conversation slow and difficult. "Human ship," the Zenthari said. "We received your message. We're grateful that someone answered our call. I am Scholar Vethka, speaking for the Zenthari Council. This is Captain Morrison," Jake replied. "We came as soon as we could." What's your situation? Desperate, Vethka said without hesitation. The Vrak have been bombarding our world for days. Our orbital defenses are gone. Our fleet is destroyed. We have perhaps hours before they begin landing troops. Jake looked around the bridge. His ship was small and lightly armed. Against the massive Vrak warships, they would be like an insect. Fighting elephants? Scholar Vethka, Jake said carefully. We want to help, but we need to understand what we're dealing with. What? Tell us about your people and the Vrak. What Vethka told them over the next hour changed everything Jake thought he knew about life in the galaxy. The Zenthari Collective was an alliance of 6 different alien species. All of them had evolved on what they called garden worlds, planets. With stable climates, gentle weather, and peaceful environments, their worlds had no major predators, no deadly diseases, and no natural disasters. We developed our technology slowly and carefully, Vethka explained. We learned to solve problems through cooperation and science. War was unknown to us until we met the Vrak. Dr. Parker leaned forward. What about the Vrak? Where did they come from? They are from a garden world as well, Vethka said. But they chose conquest over cooperation. They have been expanding their empire for 50 years, taking over peaceful species like ourselves. Jake frowned. But if they're from a garden world too, how are they so much stronger than you? Numbers, Vethka said sadly. They breed quickly and build many ships. They overwhelm us with sheer force. But even they are not truly warriors. They simply have more resources. Ryan Brooks spoke up. What about other species? Haven't any of them tried to stop the Vrak? Vethka's large eyes seemed to grow even larger. There are no warrior species in this part of the galaxy, Commander Brooks. All intelligent life develops on garden worlds. Hostile planets cannot produce civilization. Dr. Parker exchanged a look with Jake. Scholar Vethka, she said slowly. Could you describe your world's environment? Thyros Prime is a beautiful world, Vethka said with pride. The temperature varies only a few degrees throughout the year. We have gentle rains that fall predictably. Our largest predator is no bigger than what you might call a house cat, and it eats only small insects. Disease is almost unknown. Ancestors lived in peace for millions of years before developing intelligence. The bridge crews stared at each other. Jake realized that Dr. Parker was thinking the same thing he was. Scholar Vethka, Jake said carefully, I need to tell you something about humans and our world. Over the next 30 minutes, Jake described Earth. He told Vethka about earthquakes and volcanoes, hurricanes and tornadoes. He explained about ice ages and asteroid impacts, about diseases that could kill millions, about predators like lions, and sharks and bears. With each detail, Vethka's expression grew more horrified. Your world experiences temperature changes of over 100 degrees? Vethka asked in shock. In some places, yes, Jake said. And your diseases can kill healthy individuals? Many of them, yes. And you have predators that actively hunt intelligent beings. Well, they don't usually hunt humans anymore, Jake said. We learn to fight back. Vethka was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was barely a whisper. Captain Morrison, your species evolved on what we call a death world. We thought such planets could never produce intelligent life. The conditions you describe would kill any Zenthari within days. Dr. Parker leaned closer to her screen. Scholar Vethka, could you tell us about Zenthari biology? Her bones are light and flexible, Vethka said.
Atmospheric
conditions to survive. Change in air pressure can be fatal to us. Our immune systems are not designed to fight diseases, because our world has none. Jake began to understand. How strong are you physically? Strong. Vethka seemed confused by the question. We can manipulate our tools and move our bodies. Is there another kind of strength? Ryan Brooks stood up and walked to the center of the bridge. Without effort, he lifted a heavy equipment box that normally took 2 people to move. Vethka's eyes went wide with terror. How is this possible? He whispered. Commander Brooks is actually pretty average for a human, Jake said. Some of our people are much stronger. You can survive in varying atmospheric conditions. Vethka asked. Within limits, Dr. Parker said. We can function in different air pressures, temperatures, and even reduced oxygen levels. Your immune systems fight diseases. Constantly, Dr. Parker nodded. Our bodies are always ready for biological attack. Vethka was silent for several minutes. Finally, he spoke in a voice filled with awe and fear. Our apex predators, he said. Your species evolved by surviving conditions that would exterminate any known intelligent life. You are living weapons. Jake felt uncomfortable with that description. We're explorers and scientists, he said. We came here to help you. You can fight, Vethka said. It wasn't a question. Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. Amy Rodriguez had grown up in Earth's rough cities and learned to defend herself as a child. Ryan Brooks was a trained soldier. Lisa Parker had survived diseases that would apparently kill any Xanthari instantly. Even Jake himself had lived through storms, accidents, and dangers that these gentle aliens couldn't imagine. Yes, Jake said finally, we can fight. Vethka seemed to gather himself together. Then perhaps there is hope. The Vrak have never encountered a species like yours. They expect all intelligent beings to be like us, fragile and peaceful. Tell us about their ships and weapons, Ryan said. If we're going to help you, we need to know what we're up against. As Vethka began describing Vrak military capabilities, Jake realized that everything had changed. They had come to help some aliens in distress. Instead, they had discovered that humans were unique in the galaxy, the only intelligent species to evolve under hostile conditions. The question now was whether that uniqueness would be enough to save the Xanthari from extinction. 2 hours after the conversation with Scholar Vethka ended, Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez detected 3 large ships approaching the New Horizon. The vessels were clearly Vrak, design, dark, angular, and intimidating. Captain Amy reported, the lead ship is sending us a message. They want to talk. Captain Jake Morrison studied the approaching ships on the main screen. Each one was at least 5 times larger than the New Horizon. Their weapons were clearly visible along their hulls, rows of gun ports and missile tubes that could destroy his ship in seconds. What do they want to talk about? Commander Ryan Brooks asked suspiciously. They're demanding we identify ourselves and explain our presence in Vrak territory, Amy said, listening to her headset. They claim this system belongs to them now. Dr. Lisa Parker looked up from her science station. Dapt. I'm reading interesting data about those ships. How? Their life support systems are similar to the Xanthari. Very controlled environments. Low pressure, stable temperature. Jake nodded. That fit with what Vethka had told them about the Vrak coming from a garden world too. They're requesting permission to come aboard, Amy said. The lead ship's commander wants to meet with you face to face. Jake thought quickly. Meeting with the enemy was dangerous, but it might give them valuable information about what they were facing. Tell them they can send one representative, Jake said. We'll meet in conference room 2. Ryan, I want security teams positioned nearby, but keep them hidden. You sure about this, Captain? Ryan asked. We need to know what we're dealing with, Jake replied. Besides, they could destroy us right now if they wanted to. The fact that they want to talk means something. 30 minutes later, Jake waited in the conference room with Dr. Parker and Commander Brooks. They had chosen this room because it was smaller than the main conference area and had only one entrance. If things went wrong, it would be easier. To control the situation, the airlock announced an arrival, and Jake heard footsteps in the corridor. The door slid open, and Jake got his first look at a Vrak. The alien was taller than a human, but much thinner. Its skin was gray and looked soft, almost like rubber. Had 4 arms instead of 2, and its head was large and egg-shaped. Like the Xanthari, it looked fragile, but there was something in its yellow eyes that suggested cruelty. I'm Commander. That's 9 of the Vrak Imperial Fleet, the alien said. Its voice was translated by the same system they had used with the Xanthari. You are in violation of Vrak space. Identify yourselves. Jake stood up slowly. He noticed that the Vrak commander took a step backward when Jake reached his full height. The alien was taller, but Jake was broader and more muscular. I'm Captain Morrison of the human vessel New Horizon, Jake said calmly. We received a distress call and came to investigate. Humans, Dex9 repeated, as if testing the word. We. Have no record of your species. Where do you come from? A planet called Earth, Dr. Parker said. It's about 3 weeks' travel from here. Dex-9's yellow eyes narrowed. Another garden world species, then? Weak and peaceful, like the Xanthari? You should not have come here. This system now belongs to the Vrak Empire. Jake felt a flash of anger at being called weak, but he kept his voice level. We came to help the Xanthari. They asked for assistance. The Xanthari are defeated, Dex-9 said with satisfaction. Soon they will all be dead or enslaved. If you leave now, we will allow your ship to depart safely. If you interfere, you will share their fate. Commander Brooks leaned forward in his chair. Tell me something, Dex-9. How many species has your empire conquered? The Vrak commander seemed pleased by the question. 47 intelligent species have fallen before the might of the Vrak. Some fought briefly before surrendering. Others submitted immediately when they saw our power. All are now part of our empire. All garden world species, Dr. Parker asked. Of course, Dex-9 said, looking puzzled. All intelligent life comes from garden worlds. Hostile environments cannot produce civilization. Jake exchanged a glance with Ryan. The Vrak had the same assumptions as the Xanthari about how life developed. What about your own world? Jake asked. What was it like? Dex-9's chest swelled with pride. Vrak Prime is a paradise. Stable climate. Predictable seasons, gentle rains. Our ancestors lived in harmony for millions of years before achieving intelligence. Unlike these weak species, we chose strength over weakness, conquest over submission. But you're still from a garden world, Ryan said. The finest garden world in the galaxy, Dex-9 agreed. Jake decided to test something. Around the table toward a wall display. The movement was casual, but he noticed Dex-9's eyes tracking him carefully. Tell me about your military tactics, Jake said. How do you usually defeat other species? Dex-9 seemed happy to boast. We build more ships than they can. We have larger populations, better organization. Most species surrender when they see our fleets approaching. The few that fight are too weak to resist for long. What about individual combat? Ryan asked. Do your soldiers fight hand-to-hand? The Vrak commander looked confused. Why would they? We have weapons. Personal physical conflict is... primitive. Jake noticed that Dr. Parker was taking notes on her tablet. She looked up and asked, What's the gravity on your homeworld? Standard galactic gravity, Dex-9 said. About 1/3 of what we're experiencing on this ship. Why do you ask? Jake felt his heart rate increase. The New Horizons' artificial gravity was set to Earth normal, 3 times what this alien was used to. That meant Dex-9 was struggling just to stand upright in this room. Just curious about different worlds, Dr. Parker said casually. What about diseases? Do your people get sick often? Illness is rare on garden worlds, Dex-9 said. Our medical technology can handle the few genetic defects that occur. Why are you asking these strange questions? Ryan Brooks stood up suddenly, and Jake saw this 9 flinch backward. The alien's forearms moved defensively, but there was fear in its yellow eyes. Just trying to understand your people, Ryan said with a slight smile. Jake decided to push further. Commander Dex-9, what would you do if you encountered a species that wasn't from a garden world? Impossible, Dex-9 said quickly. Hostile worlds cannot produce intelligence. But hypothetically, Jake pressed, what if you met a species that evolved on a dangerous planet, one with extreme weather, deadly predators, and constant threats? Dex-9's skin seemed to grow paler. Such a species would be monsters, savage beasts without civilization. Would they be stronger than garden world species? Dr. Parker asked innocently. Physical strength is irrelevant, Dex-9 said, but his voice was less confident now. Intelligence and technology are what matter. Jake walked closer to the Vrak commander. He moved slowly, but he could see the alien's breathing becoming faster. What if I told you that Earth isn't a garden world? Jake said quietly. X-9, single quotes eyes went wide. What do you mean? Our planet has temperature swings of over 100 degrees. Violent storms that can destroy cities, earthquakes that split the ground open, predators that hunt and kill for food. Is it possible? Dex-9 whispered. Dr. Parker spoke up. Our gravity is 3 times what you're used to. We survive diseases that would kill any garden world species in ours. Our immune systems fight biological threats constantly. And we've been at war with each other for thousands of years, Ryan added with a cold smile. We know how to fight. The X9 took several steps backward until his back was against the wall. His forearms were shaking now. You're lying, he said, but his voice was filled with fear. Jake moved even closer. He wasn't trying to threaten the alien, but his mere presence seemed to terrify the X9. We call our world Earth, Jake said. You would call it a death world. And we're the apex predators that evolved there. The Vrak commander's legs seemed to give out, and he slumped against the wall. His yellow eyes darted between the 3 humans like a trapped animal looking for escape. This is why you came here, Dex9 said in a horrified whisper. You're not here to help the Zenthari. You're here to hunt. Jake felt a chill at those words. Is that what they looked like to these aliens? Predators who had come looking for prey. We came because someone asked for help, Jake said firmly. But you're right about one thing. We're not garden world species. If you continue attacking the Zenthari, you'll find out what that means. Dex9 struggled to his feet. His forearms braced against the wall for support. My fleet will destroy you, he said, but there was no confidence in his voice. Your fleet is designed to fight garden world species, Ryan said. Fragile beings who surrender when faced with superior numbers. We're different. The Vrak commander stumbled toward the door. Before leaving, he turned back to look at the 3 humans. What are you? He asked in a broken voice. Jake thought about all the struggles humanity had faced on Earth, the ice ages and plagues, the predators and disasters, the wars and suffering that had shaped their species. We're what happens when intelligence evolves? On a death world, Jake said simply. After Vex9 left, the 3 humans sat in silence for several minutes. Well, Dr. Parker said finally, I think we made an impression. The question is, Ryan said, what will he do with that information? 2 hours after Commander Vex9 returned to his ship, the Vrak fleet changed their formation. Instead of continuing their bombardment of the planet, they turned toward the new horizon. Captain Jake Morrison watched from the bridge as 12 massive warships moved into attack positions. They're surrounding us, Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez reported from her station. All ships are powering up their weapons. I guess our conversation didn't go as well as we hoped, Commander Ryan Brooks said grimly. Dr. Lisa Parker looked up from her science station. Captain, I'm detecting communication signals between the Vrak ships. They're discussing something they call Death World protocols. It sounds like they have emergency procedures for dealing with dangerous species. Jake nodded. Any idea what those protocols involve? Complete destruction, Amy said, listening to the intercepted signals. They're planning to destroy us and then finish off the Zenthari. They don't want word about humans to spread. The bridge shook as the first Vrak energy beam struck their shields. Jake gripped his chair as warning lights flashed around him. Shields down to 80%, reported Chief Engineer Pete Collins from the engineering section. Captain, we can't take much of this. Their firepower is overwhelming. Jake looked at the tactical display. 12 ships against 1. Each enemy vessel was 5 times larger than the New Horizon and carried enough weapons to destroy a small moon. Any ideas? Jake asked his senior staff. Ryan Brooks studied the enemy formation. Captain, they're fighting like they expect us to behave like other Garden World species. Look at their positioning. They're staying far apart, using long range. Weapons only. What does that tell us? Jake asked. They're afraid of close combat, Ryan said with a grim smile. Dex9 told his commanders about us, and now they're terrified of letting us get near their ships. Dr. Parker's eyes lit up.
That's
They've never fought an enemy that might try to board their vessels. All their previous opponents surrendered or fought from a distance. Pete Collins' voice came over the communication system. Captain, I have an idea, but it's crazy. What if we use the mining equipment? Jake frowned. What mining equipment? Deep core drill and the excavation charges, Pete explained. We brought them to study asteroid composition. But I could modify the drill into a ship-to-ship weapon, and the charges could work as improvised missiles. Do it, Jake ordered. Amy, get me a direct line to Scholar Vethka on the planet. The Xanthari leader appeared on the screen, his large eyes filled with fear as explosions lit up the sky behind him. Captain Morrison, Vethka said, the Vrak are saying you have been destroyed, but you're still transmitting. We're still here, Jake said. But we need your help. Do you have any ships left? Is anything that can fly? A few small vessels, Vethka said. Transport ships mostly, but they have no weapons. We don't need weapons, Jake said. We need distractions. Can you get those ships? Into space? I don't understand, Vethka said. Trust me, Jake said. Get every flying vehicle you have into space. Make as much noise as possible. Draw their attention. While the Xanthari prepared their ships, Pete Collins worked frantically to convert the mining equipment. The deep core drill, designed to bore through solid rock, was mounted on the ship's hull. The excavation charges, meant to break apart asteroids, were loaded into modified torpedo tubes. This is insane, Dr. Parker muttered as she helped with the calculations. We're turning a science ship into a weapons platform. Insane ideas work best against enemies who think they know everything, Ryan said. The New Horizon shook again as more Vrak weapons hit their shields. Warning alarms filled the bridge. Shields down to 40%, Pete reported. What? Whatever. We need to do it fast. That's when the Xanthari ships appeared. 6 small vessels, no bigger than shuttles, flew up from the planet's surface. They had no weapons, but they broadcast on every frequency, making as much electronic noise as possible. The Vrak fleet immediately turned some of their attention to these new targets. It was exactly what Jake had hoped for. Now Jake ordered, full speed toward the nearest Vrak ship. Amy's fingers flew over her controls. Captain, I'm getting messages from the Vrak fleet. They're demanding we stop and surrender. Tell them we don't know how to surrender, Jake said. We're from a death world, remember? The New Horizon accelerated toward the closest Vrak warship. Jake could see the enemy crew scrambling to react. They had expected the humans to keep fighting at long range, like every other species they had faced. They're trying to turn away, Ryan reported. They don't want us to get close. But the New Horizon was smaller and faster. As they closed the distance, Jake could see the panic on the Vrak ship. Weapon ports were opening and closing randomly. The alien crew clearly didn't know how to handle an enemy that charged straight at them. Fire the drill, Jake ordered. The modified mining drill shot out like a massive spear. It punched through the Vrak ship's hull and began boring deep into the vessel. Sparks and atmosphere vented from the hole. Direct hit, Pete announced. With satisfaction, their hull is breached, but Jake wasn't finished. Take us alongside their airlock. Ryan, get your boarding teams ready. Boarding teams? Dr. Parker stared at him in shock. Captain, that's suicide. And not for us, Ryan said, understanding immediately. Garden world species don't fight hand-to-hand. They probably don't even have security inside their ships. As the New Horizon matched course with the damaged Vrak vessel, Ryan led 20 crew members through the airlocks. They carried basic weapons, plasma cutters and metal tools mostly. Against Garden World aliens, it would be enough. Jake watched. On the security monitors, as Ryan's team moved through the Vrak ship's corridors, the alien crew fled in terror when they saw humans approaching. Some tried to hide. Others simply collapsed from fear. This is incredible, Amy whispered. They're not even trying to fight. Within 30 minutes, Ryan's team had taken control of the Vrak ship's bridge. The alien crew surrendered without firing a single shot. Captain Ryan's voice came over the radio. You need to see this. These Vrak are completely helpless in close combat. Half of them fainted when we broke down. Their doors. Jake felt a mixture of amazement and pity. These aliens had conquered 47 species, but they had never faced an enemy that actually fought back with physical force. What's the status of their ship? Jake asked. Functional, Ryan reported. And Captain, their weapons are incredibly powerful, if we can figure out how to use them. Dr. Parker was already working on that problem. I'm analyzing their weapon systems. The technology is more advanced than ours, but the basic principles are the same. Over the next hour, everything changed. The captured Vrak ship, now under human control, began firing on the remaining Vrak fleet. The enemy vessels seemed paralyzed by confusion. They'd never seen one of their own ships captured and turned against them. Meanwhile, Pete Collins launched his improvised excavation charge missiles at another Vrak vessel. The explosions tore huge holes in the ship's hull, sending it spinning out of control. "The fleet is breaking formation," Amy reported excitedly. "3 ships are retreating. The others are trying to regroup." Jake made a decision that would later be talked about throughout the galaxy. Instead of accepting the partial victory, he ordered the New Horizon to attack again. "Target the command ship," he ordered. "It's a big one in the center." Captain Dr. Parker said nervously, "That ship is twice the size of the others. It probably has a crew of thousands." "Garden World thousands," Ryan said from the captured Vrak vessel. "I'm reading their crew composition. They're all as fragile as Thexnine." The attack on the Vrak command ship was swift and brutal. The New Horizon, now supported by the captured Vrak vessel, overwhelmed the flagship's defenses. When Ryan led another boarding party onto the command ship, the result was the same as before. The Vrak commander, a being even more decorated than Thexnine, surrendered within minutes of seeing humans in his corridors. The sight of Deathworld predators moving through his ship was too much for his Garden World mind to handle. "The remaining Vrak ships are requesting permission to retreat," Amy announced. Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. They had done the impossible. A single human ship had defeated a fleet that had conquered nearly 50 alien species. "Let them go," Jake said. "But send them a message first." Amy nodded. "What should it say?" Jake thought about the terrified Vrak commander who had just surrendered, and about Scholar Vethka and his people who could now live in peace. "Tell them that the Zenthari are under human protection now," Jake said. "And tell them that if the Vrak Empire wants to continue existing, they should find some other part of the galaxy to operate in." As the surviving Vrak ships fled into hyperspace, Jake realized that they had just announced humanity's presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. Word would spread quickly about the Deathworld species that had single-handedly destroyed the Vrak fleet. "Captain," Dr. Parker said quietly, "I don't think our lives are ever going to be the same." Jake nodded, watching the last Vrak ship disappear into the darkness of space. "I don't think the galaxy is going to be the same either." 2 weeks after the battle, Captain Jake Morrison stood in the main conference room of the New Horizon, looking at a holographic display that showed the entire local galaxy. Red dots marked the locations of 47 different species that had been conquered by the Vrak Empire. Green dots showed the handful of free worlds that had somehow avoided Vrak attention. And now, for the first time, there was a blue dot representing human space. "The news is spreading faster than we expected," Dr. Lisa Parker reported, studying the communication logs. "Every species in this sector has heard about what happened here." Scholar Vethka, now recovered from the immediate crisis, attended the meeting via video link from the planet's surface. The Zenthari leader looked much better than he had during the siege, but his large eyes still showed amazement when he looked at the humans. Captain Morrison, Vethka said, "We've received over 200 messages from other species in the past week. Most are asking the same question. Are the humans real? And will they help us too?" Jake felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. When they had answered the Zenthari distress call, he had only been thinking about helping one species. Now it seemed like half the galaxy was looking to humanity for protection. "What kind of messages?" Commander Ryan Brooks asked. "Desperate ones," Vethka replied sadly. "There is a species called the Mallory, 3 systems away. Vrak were planning to attack them next month. They are begging for human assistance." Dr. Parker pulled up another display. There's also the Kefin Alliance, the Yorth Collective, and at least 6 individual species that have been under Vrak control for years. They're all asking if humans can help them gain freedom. Amy Rodriguez looked up from her communication station. "Captain, I'm also receiving signals from Earth Command. I want a full report on what happened here." Jake had been dreading that conversation. "How do you explain to Earth's government that you accidentally became the galaxy's most feared military power?" "What are they saying?" Jake asked. They want to know if we've made contact with hostile aliens, Amy replied. The automatic beacon we sent after the battle reached Earth 3 days ago. It just said we had encountered alien civilizations and were engaged in combat. You could imagine the panic that message had caused back home. Earth's leaders had always wondered what they would do if they met aggressive aliens. They probably never imagined that humans would be the ones that other species found terrifying. There's something else, Dr. Parker said hesitantly. The Galactic Council has sent us a message. The what? Jake asked. Vetch-Ka answered. The Galactic Council is an organization of the oldest and most advanced garden world species. They have governed relations between civilized species for thousands of years. They have never invited a new species to join. What do they want with us? Ryan asked suspiciously. Dr. Parker activated another holographic display. The image showed an alien that looked somewhat like the Xanthari, but older and more formal. Its skin had a silver tint, and it wore elaborate robes covered in symbols. I am Prime Counselor Yethra of the Galactic Council, the alien said in the recorded message. We have received reports of a new spacefaring species calling themselves humans. These reports are difficult to believe. The alien paused as if struggling with what to say next. According to our information, your species evolved on what can only be described as a death world. Such a thing was thought to be impossible. Furthermore, you apparently defeated a Vrock Imperial fleet single-handedly, which is equally impossible. Jake noticed that the alien's hands were shaking slightly as it spoke. We formally request that representatives of humanity appear before the Galactic Council too. Discuss your species' role in galactic civilization. This invitation has never been extended to a species with fewer than 500 years of spaceflight. Experience your situation is unprecedented. The message ended, leaving the conference room in silence. Oh. So what do they really want? Jake asked Vethka. The Xanthari scholar looked uncomfortable. Captain, you must understand that the Galactic Council has maintained peace for 3,000 years by ensuring that all member species follow certain rules. They prevent wars by making sure that no single species becomes too powerful. And now they're worried about us, Ryan said with understanding. They are terrified of you, Vethka said honestly. A single human ship destroyed 12 Vrak vessels and captured 2 more. The Vrak Empire has been the dominant military force in this region for 50 years. The Council is trying to understand what this means for galactic stability. Dr. Parker leaned forward. What happens if we refuse their invitation? That has never happened before, Vethka admitted. But given your military capabilities, they would probably try to organize a coalition against humanity. Jake felt anger rising in his chest. They want to attack us because we helped you. They want to contain you because you represent something they have never seen before, Vethka explained. A species powerful enough to upset the balance they have spent thousands of years creating. Before Jake could respond, Amy interrupted. Captain, I'm receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command. Admiral Kate Sullivan wants to speak with you directly. Jake had known Admiral Sullivan for 15 years. She was tough, smart, and had always supported his exploration missions. If Earth's command was sending her to talk to him, the situation was serious. Sullivan's image appeared on the main screen. She was a woman in her 50s, with gray hair and sharp blue eyes. Behind her, Jake could see the familiar interior of Earth. Command headquarters, Captain Morrison, Sullivan said without preamble. Your last transmission has caused quite a stir back home. Did you really defeat an alien fleet with a single ship? Yes, ma'am, Jake replied. But there are some important details you need to understand. For the next hour, Jake explained everything. He told Sullivan about garden worlds and death worlds, about the physical and psychological differences between humans and other galactic species, and about the desperate situation facing dozens of alien civilizations. Sullivan listened without interrupting. When Jake finished, she was quiet for several minutes. So you're telling me, she said finally, that humanity is essentially a species of super soldiers compared to the rest of the galaxy. That's not how I would put it, Jake said. But yes, our evolution on Earth gave us advantages that garden world species don't have. And now half the galaxy wants our protection, while the other half wants to destroy us before we become too powerful. That's about right, Jake admitted. Sullivan nodded slowly. Captain, I'm sending the battleship Terra Nova to your location with a full diplomatic team. We're also dispatching the research vessel Darwin with xenobiologists and linguists. Earth's government has decided that if we're going to be a galactic power, we're going to do it right. Jake felt relieved. At least Earth was taking the situation seriously. What about the Galactic Council? He asked. We'll meet with them, Sullivan said, but on our terms. We're not going to be bullied by aliens who are afraid of us just because we evolved on a dangerous planet. After the transmission ended, Jake looked around the conference room at his crew. They had come out here to explore new worlds and maybe find signs of alien life. Instead, they had become humanity's first ambassadors to a galaxy that didn't know what to make of them. So what do we do now? Dr. Parker asked. Jake thought about all the messages they had received from oppressed species begging for help. He thought about the Galactic Council's invitation that was really a demand. He thought about Earth's decision to send more ships and establish a permanent human presence in this part of the galaxy. Now we figure out how to be responsible with the power we never knew we had, Jake said. The galaxy has been running on the assumption that all intelligent species are fragile and peaceful. We just proved that assumption wrong. Ryan Brooks smiled grimly. The Vrak Empire learned that lesson the hard way. And they won't be the last, Jake said. Looking at the star map with its dozens of red dots representing conquered worlds, but maybe we can make sure the next species that learns it actually deserves the lesson. As if summoned by his words, Amy's communication station lit up with an incoming message. She listened for a moment, then looked up with excitement. Captain, it's from the Mallory system. The Vrak fleet heading toward their world has turned around and is retreating. They're saying that the Vrak received orders to avoid any system that might have human protection. Jake nodded with satisfaction. Word was spreading through the galaxy that humanity had claimed a place among the stars. Not as conquerors like the Vrak, but as protectors of those who couldn't protect themselves. Set course for the Mallory system, Jake ordered. Let's go introduce ourselves to our new neighbors. As the New Horizon turned toward its next destination, Jake realized that their journey was just beginning. Humanity had answered an alien distress call and discovered they were the galaxy's apex predators. Now they had to decide what to do with that knowledge. The Deathworlders had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same.